All right, let's talk about one of the hottest and maybe one of the most confusing topics in tech right now: AI agent frameworks. You've probably heard the term, but the whole space is just exploding, right? It's kind of a mess of new tools and competing ideas. So, what we're going to do today is cut through all that noise. We're going to give you a clear map of who's who and what's really going on in this critical new layer of AI. Okay, first things first. When we're talking about AI agents, what do we actually mean? Well, the magic word here is agentic workflows. And this is way, way beyond your standard chatbot. We're talking about systems that can think for themselves, they can reason, they can plan, and then they can actually do stuff to hit a goal. The best way to think about it, it's the difference between an AI that gives you a little code snippet and an AI that can build, test, and ship an entire app all by itself. Yeah, it's a huge leap. And to really get a handle on just how big this is, you gotta look back a bit. Think about what web frameworks like Ruby on Rails or Gendo did for the internet, right? They took all this messy, complicated stuff like HTTP and just handled it. It meant developers could stop reinventing the wheel and just focus on building cool stuff. Well, that's exactly what's happening right now with agent frameworks for AI. It's a brand new foundation for the next wave of software. All right, so who are the big names here? Let's meet the core frameworks. We'll kick things off with the open source pioneers, the ones who really got the ball rolling. And you really can't start this conversation without talking about the OG, the one that kind of kicked this whole thing off for a lot of us: LangChain. People call it the glue layer of AI, and for good reason. I mean, you just can't argue with the numbers. We're talking around 116,000 stars on GitHub. It's the king of the hill popularity-wise. But it's more than that. LangChain literally wrote the dictionary for this space, you know? Concepts like chains, tools, memory, that's all them. And with its crazy huge ecosystem of integrations, it's just the natural starting point for so many people. Now they're even pushing the envelope with LangGraph, which lets you build these really sophisticated branching workflows. But here's the thing, it's not always about one super smart agent doing everything. There's this other really cool idea out there, which brings us to Crew AI. Their whole thing is built on a simple question: what if you could get a whole team of agents to work together? And that's exactly what Crew AI does. It's built for teamwork. You can literally create a crew of agents, give them different jobs. Like, you're the researcher, you're the writer, you're the code reviewer, and they collaborate to get a complex task done. It's super fast, and because they're really focusing on stuff like security and access controls, big companies are starting to pay very close attention. So yeah, looking at this chart, LangChain obviously has a huge head start. But don't let that fool you. The energy in the open source world is just incredible. You've got projects like MetaGP, which is wild. It tries to simulate an entire software company with AI agents, and Microsoft's AutoGen, both with massive followings. This is not a one-horse race, not by a long shot. The innovation is happening all over the place. Okay, now let's do a complete 180. In a world where everyone's trying to cram in more and more features, Small Agents comes along with a totally different take. Their whole philosophy is less is more. So instead of piling on features, they're obsessed with reliability and making sure the agent does exactly what you expect it to do, every single time. It's about building agents you can actually, trust. And this is huge for anything running on, say, your phone, or for any task where you absolutely cannot afford a mistake. But of course, the open source community isn't the only game in town. The big cloud titans have seen the writing on the wall, and yeah, they have definitely entered the chat. And this is where the new battleground is really being drawn. Every single one of the cloud giants has its own horse in this race, and their strategies are super interesting. You've got Microsoft pushing AutoGen to lock in their massive enterprise base on Azure. OpenAI is all about getting it right, focusing on correctness and building their own walled garden. Google's playing the modularity card with their ADK, making it a perfect fit for Vertex AI. And of course, Amazon's in the mix with Strands agents, tying everything into their Bedrock models. The endgame for all of them is the same, though: get you to build on their framework so you stay in their cloud. It's a classic platform play with all the power and all the risks of vendor lock-in that come with it. Okay, so with all these different players and different approaches, where is this all going? Let's zoom out and look at the key trends that are shaping the whole market. When you look under the hood, there are really two main ways these agents are being built. You've got what are called directed graphs. Think of these like a fixed flowchart. They're awesome for tasks where you know all the steps in advance. Then you have event-driven systems. These are more dynamic. They react to things as they happen. What's really cool is that the newest frameworks are starting to blend these two ideas, giving you the best of both worlds. And it's not just about how they're built, the whole market is just maturing. You're starting to see a real push for standards so that agents built on different frameworks can actually talk to each other. People are also demanding smaller, more private agents that can run right on your device. And for the big companies, things like security, being able to see what an agent is doing and giving it a long-term memory, those aren't nice to haves anymore. They are absolute must-haves. All right, so let's put it all together. What does this all mean? What's next for agents? And really, it all boils down to this one massive tension. It's like a tug of war. On one side of the rope, you have this amazing, messy, super creative open source world. And on the other side, you have the massive gravity of the cloud giants trying to pull everything into their orbit. So that's the big question we're left with, isn't it? As this fight for the future of AI gets more intense, who wins? Does one of the giants create a standard that everyone just has to use? Or does that vibrant, open ecosystem of specialized tools manage to hold on and thrive? Honestly, the answer to that question is going to shape how all of us build software for the next decade.